All right, folks, get ready, because we're about to dive into something spectacular this time,
Indeed.
a harvest moon eclipse. Now,
Spectacular.
we've been gathering a ton of info on this,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, it's going to be a cosmic event you won't want to miss.
It's going to be visually stunning. This eclipse, what makes it so special is it's a partial eclipse
Okay.
that's happening during a supermoon.
Whoa, a super... Okay, now you're speaking my language. Before we get ahead of ourselves, though,
Right.
we got to talk about what a lunar eclipse even is. A lot of these articles lay it out, but I feel like you could probably explain it even better.
Okay, so picture this. The Earth is positioned directly between the sun and the moon.
Okay.
As the moon moves into Earth's shadow, the sun's light is blocked, and that causes an eclipse.
Right.
However, unlike a total eclipse where the moon is fully covered by the Earth's umbra, that's the darkest part of the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
This time, it's a partial eclipse.
So we're only going to see, like, a shadow on the moon.
Exactly. We're going to see a bite taken out of the moon, basically.
Interesting. And a lot of these articles mention that the moon might look reddish during the eclipse. Why is that?
It's actually the same reason why sunsets are red.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Rayleigh scattering.
Okay.
Basically, during the eclipse, the sunlight that reaches the moon has to pass through the Earth's atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And the Earth's atmosphere scatters the shorter wavelengths of light, like blue and green, more than the longer wavelengths like red and orange.
Huh. Interesting.
So what we see is the red light that makes it through.
So the Earth's atmosphere is basically acting like a giant filter, letting only the red light through to reach the moon.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
So when can we see this reddish moon? When should we mark our calendars for?
For those of you in North America, it's going to be the evening of September 17th.
Prime time.
Yeah, primetime viewing.
Okay, awesome.
The exact timings do vary a bit depending on your location, though.
Right, of course.
But one of the articles had a really helpful tip.
Oh, yeah. What's
You
that?
can go to timeanddate.com. They have this tool where you put in your location, and it tells you exactly when to watch.
Now that is handy. No more guesswork.
Exactly.
But what if it's cloudy that night, or we can't see it for some reason?
Well, a lot of sources, like space.com, for example, will be live streaming the whole thing.
That's awesome. So no one has to miss out.
Exactly. You can watch it online.
Perfect. This is shaping up to be quite the event.
It really is.
So much to talk about already, and we haven't even gotten to the supermoon part.
I know, right?
But we'll save that for after a quick break.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about this harvest moon eclipse, and I
Right.
gotta ask, why harvest moon? Like, it sounds kind of cute and all, but where'd that name come from?
Well, it's actually pretty interesting.
Okay, hit me.
It's all tied to the autumnal equinox, the start of fall.
Right?
So back in the day when farmers didn't have fancy electric lights, they relied on the moon to work at night.
Ah, I see. So they could harvest longer.
Exactly. And this full moon happens right around harvest time.
And it's brighter, right? So it would have been super helpful.
Yeah. The harvest moon is known for being especially bright,
Huh.
and it also rises around the same time for several days in a row.
Wow. So they really lucked out with that timing. You know what I find fascinating about this whole thing? It's like,
What's that?
this whole harvest moon thing just shows you how connected people used to be with nature, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they depended on the moon for something as essential as putting food on the table.
Absolutely. Their lives were so closely intertwined with these natural cycles.
Exactly. Oh. And speaking of cycles and connections,
Yeah,
we can't forget about the supermoon part of this whole eclipse thing.
that's right. We've got a supermoon to talk about.
Okay, so remind us, what makes a supermoon so super? Is it just closer to Earth or something?
You got it. It's all about the moon's orbit.
Okay.
When the full moon lines up perfectly with the point where the moon is closest to the Earth, that's when we get a supermoon.
So closer to us, bigger and brighter in the sky.
Exactly. It's a subtle difference, but it definitely adds to the visual impact.
This is going to be one for the books. And did you say this is just one of several supermoons this year? There are more?
Yep. We actually already had one last month, and there are two more coming up, one in October and one in November, according to what I read.
Wow, the cosmos are really putting on a show this year. So to be clear, the supermoon doesn't actually, like, change how the eclipse works, right?
No, not really. The
Uh,
eclipse mechanics are independent of the supermoon.
Gotcha. We're just lucky enough to be graced with both at the same time.
Precisely.
Now that is some cosmic coincidence I can get behind.
It's going to be a sight to see, that's for sure.
Definitely. So we've got this supermoon partial lunar eclipse, but didn't we mention another kind of eclipse earlier, that ring of fire one? Can we talk about that for a
Of
sec?
course. An annular solar eclipse.
Yeah, an annular solar eclipse, right. Sounds kind of intense, that ring of fire.
It's definitely a sight to see.
So how does that one work again? I'm still wrapping my head around all the different types of eclipses.
So basically, it's like this. The moon passes between the sun and the Earth.
Okay, sounds familiar so far.
Right, but the difference is the moon is actually a bit farther away from Earth during an annular eclipse.
So it looks smaller.
Exactly. It doesn't completely block out the sun.
Ah, that's where the ring of fire comes in.
You got it. It creates this, like, bright ring of sunlight around the edges of the moon.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And do we get to see one of those anytime soon?
You're in luck, actually. There's one happening on October 2nd.
No way. This month?
Yep. Mark your calendars.
Seriously. 2 major sky events in 1 month. Okay, so we've got our supermoon partial lunar eclipse coming up,
Right.
and then the ring of fire annular eclipse not long after.
Going to be an exciting month for sky watchers.
You said it. Okay, so before we let everyone go and start marking their calendars, let's do a quick recap. We covered a lot today.
We did.
Lunar eclipses, supermoons, even a bit about how the harvest moon got its name.
It's been a really interesting deep dive.
It has. So what would you say is the biggest takeaway from all this? Why should people even care about any of this stuff?
You know, to me, it's about recognizing that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
I get that.
These celestial events, they're a reminder of that connection we have to the cosmos, the sun, the moon.
I love that. So to our listeners, next time you're looking up at the moon, take a moment to really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's not just a giant rock in the sky. It's a source of light, a timekeeper. It even helps shape human history. It's incredible when you think about it.
Absolutely.
So that's all the time we have for today, but don't forget to check out the show notes for all the cool articles and resources we talked about.
Yeah, definitely check those out.
And until next time, keep looking up and stay curious.
See you next time.